Okay, as usual, we're reading from our Herb Crafters Tarot deck, which is our healing deck. So, your growth reading for this week uh, is the Tower. The Tower. So, you see that? The Tower is a major arcana, and the herb associated is mushroom. And the Tower is the same in our regular tarot deck. So let's see what the Lord has to say, okay? It says, let tragedy nourish the soul of rebirth. Let tragedy nourish the soul of rebirth. Sounds like a continuation from last week when we were talking about that grief and loss. And sometimes we don't know what to do with those feelings, those emotions. And they're meant to help you grow. Let me tell you what it reminds me of. You know how in gardening they use manure to cultivate and nourish the soil? So that is like the excrements of the waste. Okay, that's the waste. And in a sense, our negative emotions or this healing, this tragedy is the waste. It just comes with the territory of grief and loss. So instead of letting it tear you up, let that tragedy nourish the soul of rebirth. Let it teach you something. Let it show you who you are and show you who you can be. Because let me tell you something, the fact that you survived the tragedy says a lot about you. Because there are a lot of people who don't survive tragedies, okay? Everything is food for growth. Every single thing is food for growth. And you have to look at it like that. You have to look at everything you go through as, okay, Lord, you allowed this. So that means that there's some good in it for me. Be liberated by your acceptance of profound change. See, agree, and accept. So let's describe the card. A tree crashes in a dark wood onto a bed of brown, gold, and green leaves. See our picture? A large decaying piece of trunk is covered in mushrooms. And when the wood is touched, it gives way. It's weak, crumbling to dust because it's dead, Once a tree is separated from its roots, it dies. You understand? That's why it's important to nourish those roots in your life, to pour into the roots in your life. Some of your roots are already decayed and dying, and that's probably why you're going through some of the things you're going through. So it's important for you to nourish your roots. You got to give it new food. Light shines through the forest and hits the log. Light. God is light. Illuminating the vibrant colors of the mushrooms. Sudden change leads to destruction, okay? And upheaval, because a lot of people do not like change, especially sudden change. Where did this come from? Mushrooms, however, the instigators of transformation in the forest, they spark foundational healing. What is the foundation? The roots are your foundation. So in my series, What Are You Rooted In? That's why God gave me the tree to use as a analogy for us, because we have roots too. And it's like, what are you rooted in? If you find out what you're rooted in, you will see why your life is the way it is. Mushrooms are decomposers. They're meant to break down things. A decomposer breaks down things. Same thing with what I said about the manure earlier. How they use the manure to nourish the soil. It's a decomposer. It breaks down things. They convert material that is no longer useful into something that living things can eat. Let me say that again. Mushrooms are a decomposer. They convert material that is no longer useful into something living things can eat. So your grief and loss and that emotion is there for a purpose. It's to break down those things that are hindering you so that you can eat the fruit that God has for you. They break down and absorb environmental contaminants, recycle decaying materials, and bring nutrients to the soil. Wow. Let the current crisis consume the false narratives, those false things that go on in your head, those false perceptions, those false stories that you have created, because you've created them based upon the things you've gone through. Rewrite your story. You have an opportunity to start anew. Rewrite the story. If you don't like the story that you're in, the story that others have written for you because of the things that have happened to you, rewrite the story. Now is your chance to play the game. Now is your chance to play the game of life. Now is your chance to play the game of life anew. As mushrooms build the immune system, allow yourself to build strength through resilience. And just in case you haven't realized it, I'm going to come in close for this one. Okay? You are resilient. You know how you're resilient? How you know you're resilient? Because you're still here. Because you survived. Use that resiliency. Mushrooms produce by shooting their spores through the air in bursts. Wow. Once the first shock of profound change has passed, let new energy be released. Once the shock of profound change has passed, let the new energy be released. That means you got to get out of the way. God is trying to renew you, and you're still standing in that old stuff, talking about what somebody did to me 20 years ago, and God is releasing it, and you're still holding on to it, and that's why you are in agony on the inside, because you won't let it go. You won't release it. If I told you guys about all of the things that people have done to me, and I'm not saying I haven't done things to other people, okay? I'm not saying that. But if I sat in all the things, all the tragedy, all the bad things, the hurt, the change, I would not be able to do this for you, because I would be so consumed by those negative thoughts and the negative energy that I would not be able to move forward. So you gotta release it. You know, when we were very active in WOW, Women Offering Wealth, as the endurance program director, we had an event called Wildfire, and we did it at the park, and we had a real fire out there as a campfire, and the purpose of that was to allow the participants to do just what I'm saying. Release that old negative energy. They were instructed to write out whatever it is you want to release on a piece of paper and throw it in the fire. And that whole process was a spiritual process, and it was something you were doing purposely to say goodbye to that energy. Everybody left that event lighter than they came. Even myself. I burned a whole journal. Okay? So, how do we craft with the Tower? Write about the tragedy you are facing. Oh, this is a good one too, because even though I'm talking about burning it, listen to this one. Write about the tragedy that you're facing. Bury the writing beneath a decaying mushroom log. You might go to some woods to do this. But that's a good way. It's like you're burying it. So that is a good opportunity to let go of the stuff that you're holding on to. Enhance vitality to cope better with change. Enhance vitality. That means you need to do things purposely to bring life back into you, to keep yourself nourished, to keep yourself strong. Take medicinal mushrooms, not the other ones, like reishi, okay, or responsibly harvest chaga. Lastly, learn something new. Enroll in a mushroom foraging class. Or it doesn't have to be a mushroom class, but just learn something new in the process that you're in. Okay? So if you're dealing with grief, loss, maybe you can go to a support group of people who are dealing with the same thing. Because that is your opportunity to learn something new. You're going to learn something from those people in that group, because everybody processes grief differently. And there are sometimes ways that you can learn from somebody else that may help you. So learn something new. Okay? That's our growth reading. So, as usual, we always have a bridge. We always have a bridge. And our bridge for this week is the star. I'll show it to you. It's the star. That's our bridge for this week. The star is another major arcana. Okay? And you know what I like about this card as I look at it, okay? Is that one of the things is that the lady is naked. You're stripped bare, okay? But there's a great big star right in the middle. You see that? Which is to give you hope. Even though she's stripped bare in this card, but she's pouring water. She's pouring water in two places. She's pouring water into the well, into the lake or the big body of water, and she's also pouring water on the ground. So she's nourishing the ground as well, the roots, okay, and pouring water back into the big body of water, which is renewing. Okay, that's renewing. And the word says that when you dwell by the water with the Lord, that's where you get your renewal. That's where life is. Water is life. Okay, so this is her life force that she is using to renew. Okay. Now let me tell you what this card states. Some of the things that may be hindering you. It may be some fear of failure. Remember I told you fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is going to come everywhere, and you have to learn to just move past the fear. Do it anyway, okay? The bridge. The bridge. The bridge. The star is the card of inspiration, okay? So it is meant to help you move past those negative things. When you are not walking in that energy that the star has, okay? you are going to walk in the opposite of it. Fear, anger, resentment. You got to flip this card. You have to flip it. And you have to walk in the inspiration of that star and know that God got you. You have to flip it. Okay? I want to share something else with you about the star. I want to go and read for you in my Herb Crafter's book what the star represents, because it's a major arcana. And in our Herb Crafter's book, it says that your broken pieces contain the stars of hope. Your broken pieces contain the stars of hope. So our bridge this week is your hope. It's the hope that all is not lost. Because as long as you're still breathing, as long as you get up every day, all is not lost. You still have an opportunity. You still have hope. So open your heart to grace. You remember the story of Paul when he had that thing in his side and the Lord said that he wanted him to remove, and the Lord said, my grace is sufficient. I'm going to get you through this. Regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how it feels, I'm going to get you through this. So you need to open your heart to grace. Okay? And be generous with your blessings. You have to give back. You know, some of us need to make amends. That's what they do. That's why 12-step programs for people who have recovered from addictions, they include a process in there about making amends. Because when you're in your dark moment, you're hurting people. And sometimes you're not aware of what you're doing. So it's important to go back and make amends. Okay? So be generous with your blessings and make amends. Hope can be found in the darkest moments. I mean, it can be somebody who just comes up and just gives you a word out of nowhere. My sister did that for me today. You know, I was having a hard moment this morning, and she sent me a text and just said, I'm just thinking about you today. Have a blessed day. That's hope. That's that star. Okay? That's hope. And anytime you get things like that, that is God saying, I'm still here. Keep going. Okay? All right. That's your bridge for this week. Okay, so we have a new card for you this week, cheerfulness. And this one is coming from my Celebration of Love deck, because I realize that we have to keep love in the process. We have to keep love in the process. So the card is cheerfulness. You see that? Cheerfulness. And it is a picture of unicorns. It says at the bottom, midnight roundup. Unicorns being round up at midnight. It has the full moon. Remember I told you about that full moon cycle. Whenever there's a full moon, that's your opportunity to start anew, releasing that old and putting some new energy out into the universe. So for cheerfulness, it states, this image celebrates camaraderie, friendship, and dreaming of our dreams together. Dreaming of our dreams together. It is sharing the magic of possibilities are everywhere. Sharing the magic that possibilities are everywhere. Possibilities are everywhere. You see all those stars? Possibilities are everywhere. Be an inspiration. Be an inspiration to others. Be an inspiration to someone who needs encouragement. The best way for you to come out of your negative energy is to be an inspiration to somebody else. That's what I do. That's why I do this. Because that helps me heal. It helps me heal to give inspiration to you all. Knowing that I'm helping somebody else by sharing what I've learned and how I've come through these tragedies in my life helps me heal better. It lets me see all the stars and possibilities because I'm helping somebody else. Maybe they have a goal or a dilemma. Okay, they may have a goal or a dilemma and they need help. And that's what the Life Calling Coach is all about. Inspire them to look for possibilities. Inspire them to look for possibilities because they're out there. But if you don't look for them, how are you going to find them? It's like you sitting here. Let me, you know, it always reminds me of a story. God has so many stories. That's what I always appreciate about the Bible is that they told us things in stories. Jesus told parables. And there's a story, and I don't know if this one's in the Bible, but I've heard this story several times, of a man who said he was waiting on God to help him. He was in a boat, and he was stranded, so in a dilemma. And I'm waiting on God. I got faith. Sometimes we think that faith means there's nothing for us to do. Just sit and wait. But that's not the truth. Faith without works is dead. There is always something for you to do. So in this situation, the man was sitting there and God sent a boat by. You need help? No, I'm waiting on God. And he left. Second one came by. Hey, you need help? No, I'm waiting on God. You understand? So he kept saying no. And each one of those was God sending your help. He was answering you. But you kept saying no. And he was not connected to God and understanding that, it requires something of you. You have to, first of all, know when he's speaking, know when he's answering you, and then respond. Okay? So what I want you to do is inspire them to look for possibilities outside the box. Sometimes it's not going to be traditional, conventional. It may be something that's really way out. And some of us are so closed-minded to think that God can't do this, but God is infinite and can do anything. Honor your own imagination so you can extend this gift to them. Honor your own imagination so you can extend this gift to them. Okay? Now, here's our special message, okay, on this one. And remember, we're doing the cheerfulness card, okay? This is your love for this week. You are being inspired to release and forgive an issue, irritation, or problem you have had with a good friend or an associate. I'm going to read it again. You are being inspired to release and forgive an issue, irritation, or problem that you have had with a close friend or an associate. And forgiveness is not easy sometimes, especially when it cuts you deep. And I can share with you myself that I do have some things right now with a person that I hold very dear to my heart that I'm having trouble with forgiveness. And so these words are speaking to me just as much as they're speaking to you. How do we forgive? How do you forgive things when people purposely hurt you or those you love? How do you forgive that? Well, one of the ways that I always try to do it is I try to look at what was that person's mindset at the time that they did the things they did. Because a lot of people operate from faulty, like we said earlier with the mushroom, those faulty thought patterns, those false narratives, that's what we said. And anytime someone is operating from a false narrative, then their perception is off, which leads to their decision making being off, and then their actions being off. That doesn't excuse the behavior or the things that they did, but it will give you a little bit of insight to understand where they were and maybe help it make it a little easier to forgive. I sometimes look at things and I look at the purpose behind why people did the things they did. And if I see that they were purposely trying to hurt me, there was malice in their heart, I still try to find a way to forgive. Sometimes I will look at myself and say, okay, Athena, what is it that you put out to initiate in any way, if it did, this person to have malice toward you? Because again, I'm not perfect. And sometimes we can walk around and do things and we're not even aware of what we're doing. I'm saying that they are actually hurting someone else. That also can take me into a process where I can begin to heal and forgive as well. So try those two things for you. If you find it difficult to forgive that person for what they did, okay, understand that they may have just been walking in their own pain. Hurt people, and forgive them on that level. Now, that depending on what the situation was, it doesn't mean that you keep them in your circle. It doesn't mean, you have to weigh that individually, okay? Because there have been people that I have forgiven, but they've been taken out of my circle. Because some people don't heal and make amends or change because they're not ready. And if you keep them in your circle, I can guarantee you they're going to do something else. So that's something you need to be aware of. Okay? So that's your love for this week. Okay? Cheerfulness. Remember, cheerfulness. Bring some encouragement to someone who needs it. Okay? Walk in the cheerfulness with your bridge. If you walk in that cheerfulness with that bridge and that big star, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Okay? So now our growth solution. We have our growth solution. Our growth solution this week, and I'll tell you every week I love these cards because they're beautiful. Affirmation. Affirmation. That's our growth solution for this week. An affirmation is emotional support or encouragement. That's what affirmation is, to be affirmed. Sometimes we look for others to affirm us, to give us that encouragement and that support. But it's important to be able to affirm self. Because then if you always look for exterior affirmation, then you're gonna be let down. Because sometimes there's people who just simply cannot give it to you or won't. And so if you're always looking for someone else to supply that affirmation, you may find yourself in a situation where you're lost. Remember, this is all about self-care. This is about you healing self, you building self, you building self, not other people building you, okay? So what does it say? I listen to myself and acknowledge my needs, which is very important. It's more important to acknowledge what you need versus the needs of others. Because as women, I can just tell you, as women and mothers and wives, we are in a position where we're always caring for others. And it's so easy to let self just slide down the slope. But I encourage you to put yourself first. Because if you're not whole, healed, and able to move forward, then you're going to hold up those people you care for as well. Okay? I assert myself, which is very important. Don't allow people to drag you down and drag you into things that you know you don't support, that you don't believe in. For these wives out here, I want to remind you of a story in the Bible where a couple stole money from a king. and the husband did it. And when the king called him on it, he lied, and the wife sat there and watched it, and the king killed him. And so when he asked the wife decided, I'm rolling with my husband, knowing it was wrong, and he killed her too. I assert myself and retain my power. Don't allow anybody to drag you into something you know is wrong. Assert yourself and retain your power, because we always have the power of free will. That's what God gave us. Free will. And the ability to say no. I am brave and gentle. And you can be. You can be brave and gentle. You don't have to go off and curse people out and be nasty. Just assertively, no. And I don't have to be afraid of others. Why? Because God got you in that. Start. All things are possible. I don't have to be afraid of others. No weapon formed shall prosper. It may form, it may brew right in front of you. It might huff and puff, just like 3 little pigs. But it is not going to blow you down. And the last thing that is so important, because if you don't have this, you don't have anything. I respect myself and am respected by others. A lot of times people have difficulty with respect. And one of the reasons why people have difficulty with respect is because you don't respect yourself first. If you respect yourself first, you're going to have some standards, and you're going to say, I'm not going to be involved in this, I'm not going to be involved in that, and you're going to let the people who are close to you know that. So they would know, okay, I can't go to her for this. I can't pull her into this because she is not, her standards are not going to allow her to do this. Have respect for self. Ladies, if you want a man to respect you, you need to respect yourself first. If you're running around out here with every man that looks your way, with no standards, and they say, I'm going to give you this, and you take whatever, and then you turn around and you got a man treating you like crap, look at your self-respect. What are you allowing in your life? Why don't you respect yourself enough to hold yourself to a higher standard? Okay, that's your reading for this week. And this is the Life Calling Coach, and I encourage you to live on purpose and not by accident. Okay, so your review for this week is you have the Tower. Okay, that's regeneration. It's taking the old and making new. Taking that waste and letting it nourish you. Your bridge for this week is the Star. All things are possible because of that bright star that shines every single day. All things are possible. And you got to do this in love, cheerfulness. Show some encouragement to someone else. Cheerfulness. Change your demeanor. And lastly, affirm yourself. Okay? And the first way and most important thing is to have self-respect and respect others. Okay? So this is the Life Calling Coach. I encourage you to follow me, subscribe, and like, and share. Share these readings with someone else. That's a good way to encourage somebody this week. Share this reading with a friend. Okay? All of the readings are going to be published on my YouTube channel. So you can go to YouTube, The Life Calling Coach. And I will share snippets of it on my social media. You can catch me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. And on Twitter, I'm Calling Coach. I also encourage you to visit my website because it's brand new and I'm putting new things out there. The Life Calling Coach has changed direction. I am still the Life Calling Coach. I'm still here to help you find your purpose and to live on purpose. However, God has directed me into a wellness program because people need healing and we all need to learn how to take care of ourselves first. So I encourage you to follow me and just keep abreast of the new things that are coming, okay? And thank you for your support.